If you want the best financial advice you'll ever hear, it's this. The moment you get paid, pay yourself first before life finds a way to spend it for you. That's it. That one habit alone can completely change the direction of your finances, because most people don't lose with money because they're lazy, stupid, or bad at math. They lose because they do things in the wrong order. They get paid, they pay rent, they cover bills, they go out to eat, they buy a few things online, maybe reward themselves because they worked hard, and then at the end of the month they look at their bank account and wonder where everything went. And the answer is simple. Their money already had too many jobs before it was ever given a chance to build wealth. The average person treats saving and investing like leftovers. They assume that if anything is left at the end of the month, they'll save it. But in reality, there's almost never anything left. Lifestyle expands, small purchases add up, convenience gets expensive, and suddenly the raise you thought would change your life disappears without changing your financial future at all. So here's what you do instead. Every time you get paid, you create a system where a percentage of your income automatically moves before you can touch it. Not later, not after bills, not after weekend plans, not after seeing what's left. Immediately. That means the day your paycheck hits, a portion goes into savings, a portion goes into investments, and if you have high interest debt, a portion goes toward crushing that as fast as possible. You remove the decision. Because once money sits in your checking account, your brain starts negotiating with you. It says, maybe just this once. I deserve this. It's only $50. I'll save more next month. And that is exactly how people stay broke while earning decent money. Wealth isn't built by giant dramatic decisions. It's built by small automatic systems repeated over and over for years. Let's say every paycheck you automatically move 20% of what you make. Maybe 10% goes to investing, 5% goes to emergency savings, and 5% goes to extra debt payments. Is that flashy? No. Is it exciting? Not really. Does it work? Absolutely. Because once that happens consistently, your lifestyle adjusts to what remains instead of expanding to consume everything. That one shift changes everything. You stop asking, how much can I spend? And start asking, how do I make what's left work? That is the mindset that builds actual financial security. And if you're sitting there thinking, that sounds great, but I barely make enough already, then this advice is even more important for you. Because if you never learn to direct your money at a lower income, making more usually just means spending more. A lot of people think a bigger paycheck will solve their financial problems, but without discipline, a bigger paycheck just gives you bigger bills, a nicer car payment, more subscriptions, more expensive habits, and more financial pressure. Income matters, but behavior matters more than most people want to admit. You don't need to start with 20% if that feels impossible. Start with 3%. Start with 5%. Start with something so small that you have no excuse not to do it. Because the real win at the beginning is not the amount. It's the identity shift. You become the kind of person who pays yourself first. You become the kind of person who keeps a piece of every dollar. You become the kind of person who is building a future instead of reacting to the present. That's powerful. Now, what should you do with the money after you pay yourself first? First, build an emergency fund. If you don't have cash set aside, then every unexpected expense becomes a financial emergency. Car repair, credit card, medical issue, credit card, job loss, panic. That's not a wealth building plan, that's survival mode. So your first goal is simple. Build a cushion between you and life. Even $1,000 is a start. Then work toward 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. Second, if you're carrying high interest debt, especially credit card debt, attack it aggressively. There is almost no investment that consistently beats paying off a credit card charging 20% or more. That debt is eating your future alive. Every month you carry it, you're working for the bank longer than you're working for yourself. Third, once you have stability, invest consistently. Not because it's trendy, not because someone on social media told you to get rich fast, but because ownership matters. You want your money in assets that have the potential to grow while you sleep. Broad index funds, retirement accounts, long-term investing, those aren't exciting headlines, but they're often the foundation of real wealth. And here's the part most people ignore. Consistency beats intensity. You do not need one perfect month. You need a boring system that works for years. People get obsessed with finding the perfect stock, the perfect side hustle, the perfect budget app, the perfect timing, the perfect strategy. But while they're busy chasing perfect, they never build the habit. And the habit is the whole game. A person who invests a reasonable amount every month for 10 years usually beats the person who keeps waiting for the perfect plan. Another thing. Don't confuse looking rich with being rich. A lot of people spend their paychecks trying to signal success instead of create it. They upgrade apartments too early, finance cars they can't comfortably afford, buy status items they hope will impress people who are too busy thinking about themselves to care. Real wealth is usually quieter than people expect. It looks like a paid-off credit card. It looks like a growing investment account. It looks like cash reserves. It looks like freedom, and freedom is the real goal. Freedom means you can say no to a bad job. Freedom means one emergency doesn't destroy you. Freedom means you can take risks, start a business, move cities, invest in yourself, and make decisions from strength instead of desperation. That freedom starts with what you do the day you get paid. So if you want the best financial advice you'll ever hear, here it is again. When you get paid, don't wait to see what's left. Decide first that a portion of your income belongs to your future. Automate it, protect it, repeat it, because money that stays in your hands too long usually disappears, but money that gets assigned a purpose immediately can completely change your life. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be rich already. You do not need to know everything. You just need a system that makes the right choice before emotions get involved. Get paid, pay yourself first, build your safety net, kill high-interest debt, invest the rest consistently. Do that long enough, and one day you'll realize something incredible. You're no longer stressed every time a bill comes in. You're no longer hoping next month will save you. You're no longer living paycheck to paycheck. You're finally building wealth, and it all started with what you chose to do the moment you got paid. There's one financial mistake almost everyone makes, and it quietly keeps them from ever getting ahead. It's not that they don't work hard. It's not that they never got a raise. It's not even that they don't care about money. The mistake is this: they spend first and save whatever happens to survive. That strategy sounds normal because it is normal. It's also why so many people stay financially stuck for years. The best financial advice you'll ever hear is incredibly simple. The second you get paid, move money out of reach and into your future before you do anything else. Before the shopping, before the upgrades, before the "I've had a long week, I deserve this" spending, before your brain starts turning wants into needs, you protect a percentage of your paycheck first. Because if you don't control your money when it arrives, your habits will control it for you. Most people think financial success comes from making more money. And yes, earning more helps. But if you don't know what to do when the paycheck comes in, higher income doesn't automatically create wealth. In fact, for a lot of people, it creates a more expensive version of the same problem. Bigger income, bigger rent, bigger income, bigger car payment, bigger income, nicer dinners, better vacations, more subscriptions, more pressure. The paycheck grows, but nothing changes underneath it. That's why the system matters more than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. One week you feel disciplined. The next week you're tired, stressed, busy, and suddenly convenience wins. But automation doesn't care how you feel. Automation is what saves you from yourself. So if you want a practical rule, here it is. Every payday, set up an automatic transfer so part of your income immediately goes into 3 categories: protection, progress, and future growth. Protection means emergency savings. Progress means paying down high-interest debt. Future growth means investing. That's the entire framework. Protection comes first because life is unpredictable. You can be doing everything right and still get hit with a random expense. The car breaks down. You get a medical bill. Your work hours get cut. A family emergency shows up. Without savings, those moments become expensive. They force you into debt, panic, and bad decisions. But with even a small emergency fund, life becomes less fragile. You buy yourself time, breathing room, and stability. Then comes progress, getting rid of high-interest debt. If you have credit card debt, you are financially running uphill with weights on your ankles. You can talk about investing all day, but if a credit card company is charging you 24% interest, the debt is probably doing more damage than most people realize. Paying it off is not boring. It is not small. It is one of the highest return financial decisions available to you. Then comes future growth. This is where investing changes your life over time. Not overnight, not with hype, not through lottery ticket thinking, through consistency, through patience, through ownership. The goal is simple: buy assets regularly so your money can start working even when you're not. And no, this does not require you to be an expert. That's another trap people fall into. They think they need to become financial analysts before they can start. They think they need to read 50 books, watch 200 videos, figure out the perfect market entry, and then maybe someday they'll begin. But the truth is, a simple plan followed consistently is usually far more effective than a complex plan you never actually use. If you earn income, you need a system. That's it. Here's what it might look like in real life. Let's say you get paid on Friday. By Friday afternoon, 10% goes into investing, 10% goes into savings, and if you have debt, an extra fixed amount goes straight toward the balance. You never wait to see how the month goes. You never trust willpower to clean up what spending already damaged. You make the smartest move first, while the money is still fresh. Now, the key here is not the exact percentage. The key is that it happens before lifestyle gets access to the money. That's the part people miss. Lifestyle always wants more. If your income goes up by $500 a month, lifestyle immediately starts making suggestions. You could move somewhere nicer, you could upgrade your phone, you could justify more takeout because you're busy, you could get the car with the better trim package. None of those decisions seem catastrophic on their own, but put them together and they quietly consume every advantage you thought your raise would create. That's why building wealth is less about intelligence and more about boundaries. You have to decide that not every dollar you earn is meant to be spent on your current self. Some of it belongs to the version of you who wants peace, options, and freedom later. And that future version of you is depending on today's discipline. Think about how powerful that is. One system can reduce stress, increase confidence, and create momentum. Because once you know money is being handled correctly every payday, you stop feeling behind all the time. You stop opening your banking app with anxiety. You stop pretending things will magically improve next month. You start building proof that you can trust yourself financially. That confidence matters. A lot of people are not just broke financially, they're discouraged mentally. They've made enough mistakes with money that they've started to believe they're just bad with finances. But in many cases, they're not bad with money. They just never had a system strong enough to beat their environment. Ads are everywhere. Temptation is constant. Convenience is always one click away. If you don't automate good behavior, the default setting of modern life is spending. So make your default setting wealth building instead. And let's talk about one more thing. This advice works at every income level. If you make very little, this habit helps you build control. If you make a lot, this habit protects you from lifestyle inflation. No matter where you are financially, the order of operations still matters. Pay yourself first. Protect yourself. Eliminate bad debt. Invest consistently. Then spend what remains without guilt. That last part is important. The goal is not to make life miserable. The goal is not to save every dollar and never enjoy anything. The goal is to spend from a position of structure, not chaos. When you know your savings are funded, your debt plan is active, and your investing is automatic, you can enjoy the rest of your money far more confidently. That is the difference between intentional spending and financial self-sabotage. So if you remember one thing from this entire video, remember this. The moment you get paid is the most important financial moment of your month. That is when your future is either funded or delayed. Not at the end of the month. Not after everything settles down. Not when you have extra. Right then, right when the money arrives, because every paycheck is a test. Will this money disappear into habits, or will part of it be converted into security, ownership, and freedom? The answer to that question determines almost everything, so here's what to do starting now. Pick a percentage, automate the transfer, build your emergency fund, destroy high-interest debt, invest regularly, keep your lifestyle lower than your income for longer than feels normal. Repeat it until your financial stress starts turning into financial strength. It's not flashy, it's not viral, it's not the kind of advice people usually brag about, but it works. And years from now, you won't care that it looked boring. You'll care that it gave you options. You'll care that it gave you breathing room. You'll care that it helped you stop living paycheck to paycheck and start owning your future. So when you get paid next, don't ask what you can buy. Ask what your future deserves first. If I had to give someone one piece of financial advice that could improve almost every part of their life, it would be this. Build the habit of directing your paycheck with purpose the moment it arrives. Not someday, not after the bills clear, not after the weekend, immediately, because money is incredibly good at disappearing when you don't give it a job. And that's the hidden reason so many hardworking people feel stuck. They're earning money, but they're not directing it in a way that creates momentum. Their paycheck shows up, and from that moment on, every expense is fighting for attention. Rent, groceries, gas, subscriptions, delivery apps, social plans, impulse purchases, convenience spending, random online deals. Before long, the paycheck is gone. Then they promise themselves they'll do better next time. Next time comes. Same result. So let's fix that. The best thing you can do when you get paid is create a priority order, and the order matters more than most people realize. First, pay your future self. Second, protect yourself from emergencies. Third, eliminate financial leaks like high-interest debt. Fourth, live on the rest. Most people reverse that. They live first and try to save later, but if you always save later, saving becomes optional. And optional financial habits rarely survive real life. That's why the smartest money move is to make good behavior automatic. The second your paycheck lands, a portion should leave your main account and go where it needs to go. If you're new to this, maybe that's 5%. If you're more established, maybe it's 15% or 25%. The amount matters less than the rule. The rule is that some of your income never gets a chance to become random spending. That single habit solves more problems than people think. It reduces impulse buying because less money is sitting there asking to be spent. It forces your lifestyle to adapt to reality. It builds savings faster. It creates investment consistency. It lowers stress because you know progress is happening automatically, even if life gets busy. And honestly, busy is the real issue for most people. Most people do not ruin their finances in one dramatic moment. They slowly leak money through convenience, distraction, and lack of planning. They're tired, so they order food. They're bored, so they shop. They got paid, so they celebrate. They had a rough week, so they treat themselves. Again, none of those things seem huge individually, but repeated over time, they quietly steal the money that should have become savings, investments, and freedom. This is why being good with money has less to do with being naturally disciplined and more to do with setting up systems that don't rely on daily decision making. When people say they want financial freedom, what they usually mean is they want less pressure. They want to stop feeling trapped. They want options. They want to stop lying awake at night thinking about bills. They want to know one emergency won't destroy their progress. They want room to breathe. That doesn't happen because of one lucky break. It happens because you consistently turn part of your income into stability. So let's talk about the practical side. When you get paid, the first destination for your money should be a financial buffer if you don't already have one. An emergency fund is not exciting, but it is powerful. It turns chaos into inconvenience. Without it, every surprise gets upgraded into a crisis. With it, bad situations stay manageable. That's a huge difference. After that, if you have high interest debt, especially credit cards, you go after it aggressively. And I know paying off debt isn't the most glamorous topic in personal finance. It doesn't come with screenshots of huge gains or dramatic success stories overnight. But getting rid of debt with toxic interest rates is one of the fastest ways to improve your financial life. It increases your cash flow. It lowers stress. It gives you room to build instead of constantly recover. Then, as soon as you have a basic foundation, you invest regularly, calmly, long-term, not emotionally, not based on headlines, not because everyone online is talking about one hot asset. You invest because ownership is how you stop trading your time for every dollar forever. When you own productive assets, even gradually, you create the possibility that your money can begin contributing to your future. That's the real shift, from only working for money to letting money slowly start working for you. Now, a lot of people hear this and think, sure, but I need to enjoy life too. And that's true. Of course you do. The goal is not to become so extreme that life feels empty. The goal is to create a structure where enjoyment doesn't sabotage your future. There's a big difference between spending intentionally and spending by default. Intentional spending says, my priorities are funded, now I can enjoy what remains. Default spending says, I'll enjoy everything now and hope responsibility somehow fits later. One builds confidence, the other builds stress. And here's something else worth remembering. People massively underestimate how much progress small amounts can create over time. They think if they can't save or invest a huge amount, then it barely matters. But that mindset is dangerous because it delays the habit. Small amounts done consistently do more than big plans that never begin. $50 invested regularly beats a $1,000 intention that stays in your head. One automated transfer beats 10 motivational videos. 1 year of consistency can completely change how you think about money because now you're no longer guessing. You're tracking, you're building, you're accumulating proof. That proof matters more than motivation ever will. And if you do start earning more, this advice becomes even more valuable because higher income creates a fork in the road. One path leads to a more expensive lifestyle that keeps you dependent on your next paycheck. The other path leads to a stronger balance sheet, more investments, more security, and more choice. The difference between those two futures is often determined by one question asked every payday. How much of this money am I keeping for my future? That is the question wealthy people answer differently. They don't necessarily start out smarter. They don't always start with more. But they develop the habit of keeping part of what they earn and putting it to work. Over time, that gap becomes enormous. So if you want the best financial advice you'll ever hear, remember this. Your paycheck is not just income. It is a decision point. It is a chance to repeat the habits that keep you stuck, or to repeat the habits that slowly set you free. So the next time you get paid, do this. Before you spend $1, move a percentage into savings or investments. If you have high interest debt, send money there too. Make it automatic. Make it non-negotiable. Let your lifestyle fit around your priorities instead of forcing your priorities to fight your lifestyle every month. That's how you stop surviving and start building. That's how you create peace. That's how you make your paycheck mean more than just getting through another month. And that's how real financial progress begins. Quietly, consistently, and right on payday.